What is the grossest act of revenge you've ever played a part in? Covered an entire floor in shaving cream. Except for a series of carefully placed stepping stones that we covered in KY. Then waited in the apartment below. It worked perfectly. Victim jumped to the first KY patch. Fell over and slid through the shaving cream. You should have placed Lego blocks under the shaving cream. I used to be a cocktail waitress. And for some reason guys would automatically think that because I worked at a bar, they could grab pinch fondle me. I reported it a few times. Because many would slap pinch so hard there'd be bruises. Nothing changed. I was pretty much told to deal with it. Well, I thought that was bullshit. So I sewed tacks into some boy short underwear. Pointy side facing out. Completely covering my ass. Whenever someone slapped my behind, they got pricked by a ton of little needles. I ended up getting in trouble for it. Which I thought was stupid. But I'm pretty sure that it was one of my best ideas to date. TLDR. I made arseholes stab themselves. When I was in first grade I was taking a piss in a urinal at the private, mostly Jewish, school I went to. I was minding my own business when the school bully grabbed me by the shoulder and pushed me into the urinal. In the confusion I ended up turning around with my little member hanging out for the world to see. Being that I am uncircumcised in a mostly Jewish school, the bully and his posse started to point and laugh at my sheathed sword. So I bit the tip of his finger off. I was promptly expelled. I've mentioned I worked at a university in the security department. People would park on our campus when pro football games were on nearby. It would take up the parking for the dorm residents, which would naturally hack them off. During one such game, an student dropped a paper bag on the counter window of the security office saying, "Someone lost this." This was the good old days when video camera systems were very expensive. And we had none. It was a bag full of valve stems. He'd pulled all of the valve stems from every car in the dorm parking he didn't recognize. It was a small school. So as luck would have it, he only got non-students. In college, there was a guy who was the most annoying prick imaginable that lived in the dorms with us. We had words over something. Specifics don't matter. So a friend of mine and I decided one drunken night to show him what we thought of him. For days, we ate asparagus every day in the cafeteria. We pissed into empty milk jugs to save it. Then, while the prick was away, we took a cardboard tube, held it at an angle at the bottom of the door, and poured the piss down the tube. It gained momentum in the tube and rushed under his door, covering his floor in our foul-smelling piss. Next time, pour the piss into a cookie sheet, or similarly shallow vessel, and freeze it. You get a frozen sheet of piss that you can slide under a locked door. Had a crazy. We later found out she was a meth head landlord in a college town who rented a house to me and 3 other college guys. Older house. Not in great shape. But we didn't care. She would appear at 5 or 6 in the morning on Sat or Sun, let herself in, and scream at us for hungover 19 to 21 years olds for the state of the place. She would shut off the power if the rent was 1 day late. Would forget to pay the water bill, which would get shut off about every other month, etc. When we moved out, we made sure that every access panel, switch plate, outlet plate, return air vent, and an attic access had raw chicken and or trout stuffed behind it. We also left open jars of peanut butter in the void beneath several cabinets to ensure a mouse problem. TLDR. Crazy landlord harassed us. Made illegal surprise inspections. We made sure her house ended up smelling like a seafood restaurant dumpster. Submitted this in another thread. But I had a girlfriend who basically used me for every single essay she had to do for school and otherwise. She also borrowed money all the time and was an overall bitch. She had me write her an admissions essay to use for trying to get into fashion school. Shortly after this, she broke up with me because I wouldn't give her a credit card so she could rent a van to visit some friends and do whatever else halfway across the country. I ended up emailing the admissions department of each of the schools. and just saying that the essays were written by me and plagiarized. I then filled out her information online for every single medical certification score, you know those let us contact you pages, because she had always said that medical assistant was her backup plan in life, but she hated the thought of it. Amazing what a man will put up with for ass. Isn't it? A friend at school stole my car keys one day and made a copy. For a week or two he would randomly move my car to different parts of the school parking lot. I told him, if you steal my car again, I'm going to shit on your truck. That week as I walked out to my car after school, I watched him drive away in it laughing. I then proceeded to shit on a newspaper in the bed of his truck and then placed it on the windshield. He did not take my car again. TL. DR. A guy I was dating and living with cheated on me with one of my co-workers one night, and I found out from a mutual friend as it was happening. Pretty much got a play-by-play. When he got home I confronted him about it and he hit me several times. I managed to get away and ran to a neighbor's and called the cops. The asshole obviously went to jail for the night. And I packed his tea up. While packing his toiletries, I pissed on that motherfucker's toothbrush. He came to get his things the next day and I handed the boxes over. He moved in with a mutual friend and I have it on good word that he used that toothbrush for like 6 months. A friend put dog poop under the door handle of a car that blocked his building's entrance. Simple and efficient. Yesterday I found a huge centipede climbing my leg as I was drying off from my shower. So I covered that bitch in soap. It was the beginning of the year. In early primary, elementary, school. And we were making A3 posters that were to decorate the school hall. As one may know, one of the worst crimes in this period of development is the eraser napper. The thief in question had my eraser more than I did. Cunningly I took my eraser and dipped the edge he had been using into some ink. Shortly after, a hand slithered across desk, my newly modified eraser was gone. Just as time wasn't used for permission. Time wasn't used to inspect the tool of destruction. The subsequent screams stalled class. In one act all heads rotated to one spot. To the carnage of my making. Anyway, I'm running out of time here. The day finished in about 2 minutes time and we had to hand in our posters. Till the end of term the result of my actions were plastered on a wall. A smear of black ink over said masterpiece. As a warning to all, never steal my eraser. What would this guy have done if he had his stapler stolen though? I can only imagine he would burn down the place. I moved to a new city. After 2 months in the apartment some new neighbors moved in upstairs. They were absolute fed hipsters. They would be loud as hell until 3 to 4 AM every night. I talked to them on several occasions trying to find an amicable solution. But it would just exacerbate their actions. So I tracked down their emails and phone numbers. I went online and signed them up for everything I could find. Then I found a bunch of those free text notification sites. They would always leave their phones on the floors and when they'd get a call or text you could hear the phone vibrate through the ceiling. Then them come running down the hallway to answer it. And they were up late at night and keeping me awake, through earplugs and a white noise generator. I would go and sign them up for text notification after text notification, listening them run to their phone each time. They actually got quieter and I moved out as fast as I could. Packed caviar in her curtain rods and raw shrimp behind her switch plates. She never found them. But accused me of burying a dead animal under her house. She had to sell at a $50,000 loss and move. I can only imagine the stench. This was a former boss who owed me $800 and dicked me around for 3 months with excuses. Never leave your house key under the mat. People. Caviar? Were you out of truffles and saffron? When I was mad at my wife I would wait until she was asleep. Then move close to her and fart on her as loud as I could. This thread is FK'd up. I love it. I dipped my brother's toothbrush in the toilet. I'm ashamed. Dude. I spunked in a girl's shampoo and never told her. I always wondered about the aftermath. myself and some of my closest cohorts pooped and peeped on my ex-girlfriend's car because I had heard she was returning selling jewelry I had gotten for her and was using the proceeds on drugs. I was young at the time. And I still carry the shame. Edit. I meant peed. But now I'm kind of keen on the notion of peeping something. Sugary marshmallows and fesses. Now that'll send a message. Upvote for peeped. Frozen 6 pounds fish inside the door of an asshole's car during a Canadian winter. Results were not realized until spring. Hilarity ensued. Pooped in the tank of an asshole's toilet. Don't know if he ever found it. Liquid ivory dish soap in condoms left in the backseat of an asshole's car. Hilarity ensued. Someone always helped herself to others' beer. Always. Even after being informed multiple times that this behavior was frowned upon. Concocted a revenge beer out of urine, saliva, ashes, and the blood from a package of uncooked steak. Replaced cap. Left in fridge. Hilarity did not ensue. Vomiting however did. Moved marijuana from the bowl of a pipe. Filled bowl with pubic hair concealed by a thin layer of marijuana. Left house party. What is wrong with you? I took a shitty in my friend's loafers. I mean, they do say loafers right on there. I wasn't part of this, but worked with the person who was. Girl's husband was a real jerk. Cheated. Abused. Etc. Girl decided to get revenge. She worked in the labor and delivery department and took care of newborns in the nursery. Over a course of a few weeks or so, she collected the discarded foreskin after each circumcision. Once she had enough collected, not sure how you can tell that, she cooked a soup for dinner for her husband. Ike. She said it was a Brunswick type stew. He, as she tells it, ate 2 bowls that night and took the rest to work for lunch the next day. She later described how she could kill him by getting him passed out drunk, puking into a container, then using a sump tube to pump it back into his lungs, making it appear he aspirated on his own vomit. Far as I know, they are divorced now, and he's still alive. TLDR. Woman feeds her husband a bunch of foreskin. If the labor and delivery department doesn't pay well enough, you can just keep the tips. I once mailed shitty to an idiot who had been an arsehole to me. I sometimes like to put 15% or so of my paycheck into bombs for my governments to drop on innocent people. Not quite gross, but satisfying. A douchebag landlord who tried to steal from me found his precious framed wedding portrait missing from its hook. In its place was a note. So small that he could only read it if he stood on the nearby bed. The note read, "Don't stand on the bed. The portrait is under the sheets." I dipped my nuts in my teacher's water because I thought she was being a bitch. I did literally the exact same thing but with her coffee. It was hot, but not too hot. Then I rubbed the classroom television's remote all over my balls. Half of these revenges involve piss or shitty. What the hell is wrong with you all? I used to work at a restaurant with a guy named Chuck. Chuck was a junkyard dog. He'd eat anything, even food off customers' plates. Anytime the kitchen would make food for the servers, he'd swoop in and eat half of it. I got sick of it. So one night I went into the back, got a lump of lard and rolled it in coconut. Then I stuck a shrimp tail on the end of it. I tossed it in the deep fryer until the coconut toasted. The perfect fake coconut shrimp. I sat it on a plate, told him it was a leftover from a table. He grabbed it and crammed it down his gullet. When he bit down, hot, white fat oozed out of his mouth. He was incredibly wary about eating shitty off plates from that day on. For a while I thought it was an actual dog. I'm retarded. Some girl cheated on me, so I jizzed in her face lotion and threw a fake wedding ring into a lake. I am very ashamed of this, but since you asked, as a teenager, we had a neighbor with a vicious dog that had bitten me several times. After the 3rd or 4th time that the animal bit me, I threw a couple poison-laced hot dogs over the fence. The dog died. Like I said, I regret every inch of it. But I can't change what I did. You were right. If an animal attacks you without cause, it's a sad thing. A dog that bites people needs to be put down. It's sad and regrettable. But the safety of people comes first. I say this as a dog lover. My wife works with animals. If the dog had bitten you 3-4 times, it was a dangerous animal and needed to be destroyed. The right thing to do, however, would be to go to the county and report the attacks. They will take the dog away and put it to sleep in a humane fashion. Girl reported me to HR for doing a bad job while filling in for her, while she used a sick day to go to the amusement park. I took sh*t and let HR know about the fake sick day, but this girl was such a bitch that she kept telling people what a bad job I did. Weeks later, I was helping someone move into their new office and going to the kitchen and asked the person I was helping if she needed something. The bitchy girl heard me and told me to bring her a Coke. That fell into the urinal somehow. Poured a friend's cup of beer out and topped it off with my piss once. Wasn't proud of what I did, but he had it coming. I told him later that night what I did. I learned that night though, that you never piss in a Marine's beer and then tell them about it. Needless to say, he tried choking me, and a knife was almost involved. We're still friends though. I once had a very sick friend. Let's call him Tony. And another, Ryan. Tony wanted revenge on this Ryan for tricking him with a new cell phone number. This kid had posed as a girl and talked to Tony for months, using googled pictures of some pretty girl, only to call him on Christmas and breaking it to him saying Merry Christmas Tony, you silly FCK. The sh*t bag contained these ingredients: used condoms, a week's worth of dry semen, his morning sh*t, piss, and peanut butter. See? Tony was very angry. So, he hurled a sh*t bag into Ryan's face the next week at school. TLDR. My buddy Tony tossed a bag of dry semen, fresh sh*t, used condoms, piss and peanut butter into this guy's face. Oh. I downvoted some bitch who downvoted me first. The best revenge I ever conjured up was after my roommates pissed on my car. They were upset that I couldn't remember where to score some trees at our apt complex. But give me a break. I was stoned when I was taken there. Anyway, once I found out, it took me a while to figure out how to get my revenge. But once I did, I knew it would be so much worse than what they did to me. One afternoon, I decided to clean out my roommate's bong collection. And coincidentally, I needed to take a leak. Close bracket. I took a piss right in our community bong. To make sure that I wouldn't get caught, I made sure to never partake from that bong during 4/20. So I stuck to joints. They didn't change out the water for at least a week. And every time someone took a hit, I smiled to myself, knowing that they were inhaling my piss vapors. TLDR. I pissed in my roommate's bong after all three of them pissed on my car. They didn't change the bong water for a week.